So, game 3 of the NBA Finals went down last night, and the Denver Nuggets kind of just beat the brakes off of the Miami Heat. Now, don't get me wrong, Miami was pretty competitive for a good stretch of this game, but seemed like Denver kind of figured them out more and more as the game went along, and that goes for both ends of the floor. On the offensive end of the floor, the Nuggets definitely felt like they were scraping by for a while, but progressively as the game went along, the Jokic-Murray two-man game just was too much for Miami to handle, even with another game where there was not a lot of contributions outside of those two. Hello everybody, welcome to Os Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference in how the video performs in the YouTube algorithm. My big criticism for the Denver Nuggets after game 2, the one that they lost obviously, was that like KCP played bad, Michael Porter Jr. played bad, Aaron Gordon played okay. In this game, KCP was fine, did not make as many boneheaded decisions. Literally 3 dumb fouls in the fourth quarter from KCP was an 8-point swing that caused them to lose the game, but didn't do anything like that. Michael Porter Jr. was bad still, and I'm beginning to get to the point where I wonder when Michael Malone is just like, we got to drop these minutes a little bit. It felt like he definitely went that way with Christian Braun in this game, but Aaron Gordon also just a so-so game, just like he had in game 2. But Jokic and Murray were insane. I don't even know if there's any other way to put it. They both had 30-point triple-doubles. They're the only teammates in NBA history to have a 30-point triple-double in the same final series, but they did it in the same game. That's the part that's really absurd about it, is not only did they break the record of it happening in a series, they did it in the same game. Like that's ridiculous. As I previously mentioned, Christian Braun, huge impact. He was definitely Denver's 3rd most important player. You know, I've had mixed feelings about Christian throughout this entire year, but the things that he does well, he does super well, which is he defends excellently, and he's a pretty strong interior finisher. Now, doesn't necessarily do much playmaking or putting the ball on the floor or shooting. I believe he hit the side of the backboard on a jump shot in this game, but overall, the things that he does well, he does super well, and he did those things super well in this game. Really good defense on Jimmy Butler for a lot of stretches, and honestly, switching that matchup to where he was Jimmy's primary defender for a lot of the later stretches in this game did make a significant difference. But as I said, they figured out them offensively. They also figured out how to defend Miami, which is they kind of brought a similar principle to what helped with the Boston Celtics. Obviously, it's never as simple as how I'm going to look at it. Basketball is more complicated than even I really truly understand, but there is a fairly simple thing that makes a world of difference in terms of how Miami's offense works, which is if you just simply religiously choose not to bring help unless it is just entirely without question 100% necessary, Miami's offense folds. Like hardcore, it folds under that circumstance. Because in the first half of this game, Miami was getting decent open looks on the perimeter, which game 2 was very heavily predicated on Miami getting good looks on the perimeter, whether it be from Jimmy drives or pressure coming off of Bam. Either way, there were open opportunities on the perimeter for multiple stretches in this game, for multiple stretches in game 2 rather, and that trend was kind of continuing the first half, but eventually Denver started running the Heat off of the 3-point line when they were there and not really just giving them clean opportunities to begin with, and that really just made a world of difference for Miami's offense. It got to a point where it was like, damn, they just can't do anything. Now, I will acknowledge that if Jimmy Butler was the Jimmy Butler that we saw earlier in this postseason, which he hasn't been because of an ankle injury, I'm fully giving him a pass for that. This would be different, but ultimately Jimmy is not as big of a one-on-one threat. So like, if you put a solid defender on him and say, do your best, maybe he'll get an advantage and get a bucket every once in a while, but he's not going to single-handedly outscore your team. Ironically, there was this dumb, frankly stupid narrative that the Heat were making Jokic a scorer. That's why they won game 2, which is silly because Jokic is perhaps the most unstoppable scorer in the entire NBA. So given that, I don't think you say make Kevin Durant a scorer score. Like, what the hell even is that? But in the case of Jimmy Butler, I think making Jimmy Butler a score is a good way to go about it, because he's not nearly as hard to stop as Nikola Jokic is. As I mentioned, you put Christian Brown on him, you put Aaron Gordon on him, hell, even put just KCP on him. They're gonna do a respectable job at the bare minimum, and Jimmy's not going to kill them. But the way that the Heat have thrived is Jimmy is this scary scoring threat, and because of that, he draws the attention of the defense. It's very basic drive and kick stuff. That's like fundamental to what NBA, what basketball even is. But if you reduce that threat with Jimmy, with the hindrance of this ankle injury, what do you really have? That's the problem with Miami, is as successful as they have been, their options are limited. I think Erik Spoelstra does as much as he conceivably can to maximize the personnel on this team. The fact that they just don't have a lot of significant shot creation, like Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin can put the ball on the floor and occasionally hit a pull-up. Caleb Martin was much better in this game than he was in the first two games of this series. You're not going to lose to those guys. You're not going to lose a championship to Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent. You're just not. So if Jimmy's not going to do it, it then comes on to Bam to do it, and Bam had yet another excellent game. He has been great in these finals. His shooting percentage in this one could be a little bit better, but defensively he was all over the place for a lot of stretches with Denver when it seemed like they could not miss. Really the only guy that was making things difficult for Denver in any capacity was Bam Adebayo. But like I mentioned with game one, when he had like 25 points or whatever, but it was on like 25 shots, like Denver is cool living and dying on those, like, I'm gonna take a dribble out of the paint and fade away shots that Bam likes to do. Like a mid-range fader from Bam is not a high enough percentage of a shot that the Nuggets are worried about it. So the system incentivizes, the way that Denver defends Miami incentivizes that shot, and Miami gets it plenty, but it's not going to be enough to put the points up to win a game. Just like Jimmy Butler one-on-one is not going to put up enough points to win the game. The only way that Miami is going to put up enough points to win the game is if you defend them improperly and give those opportunities on the perimeter. So honestly, I feel like Denver has Miami figured out, and I think Miami has a strong chance of winning game 4. Don't get me wrong, but the series is over in 5 if they don't. Unabashedly, you have to win this next game. It's not revolutionary to say, you know, you have to win the game where you go down 3-1 if you don't, but for real, I think they get absolutely gobsmacked in game 5 in Denver if they lose game 4. So yeah, like they need to figure out what they're doing. Frankly, Jimmy Butler needs to take a bunch of cortisol shots in his ankle like Kwame Brown did. Not really, I'm not actually genuinely recommending that, but like at this point, you need a superhuman effort, and you kind of need Jimmy Butler's ankle injury to disappear, and don't think that's going to happen. So as long as Jimmy just isn't a guaranteed bucket one-on-one, Miami's offense can't do enough. It just can't, especially if Denver isn't all that bothered by Miami's defense once they really get in the flow of things. And again, they've been doing this without much contribution from outside talent. Monte Morris has been good throughout the series. Christian Brown was excellent in game 3. Aaron Gordon was excellent in the first half of game 1. Otherwise, at least offensively speaking, of course, Aaron Gordon's been so-so. Michael Porter Jr. has been bad, and KCP has been pretty not good either. So not getting a lot of contributions, but Jokic and Murray as a duo are just so fucking good that it does not matter. And Miami has so many limited options that it does not matter. And ultimately, this all culminates in Denver probably winning this series in 5, maybe 6. Also, I do want to say something. My main channel video, not the most recent one by the time this video goes up, because that video is about duos and specifically Jokic and Murray, so go check that out. It'd be much appreciated if you haven't already. But the video before that I uploaded was titled like the Miami Heat could do this. I didn't want the video to be titled that, but the original title, what the actual video was like about directly, wasn't working. So I had to change it, but that wasn't really my actual take. But it was a very pro Miami video and suggesting that they could win 2 games in this series, but that's kind of what I believed from the onset. And after this game, I'm just feeling more confident in Denver, which is crazy because I have the utmost confidence in Denver. I have this entire entire postseason. It has not done me wrong to be confident in Denver, but I just want to make that clear. My confidence has not wavered in them in the slightest. You know, sometimes you just got to play the game and make sure a YouTube title is clickable. So yeah, that's it. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.